this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. And one of the things that we're going to have to continue to do is support each other, even when we're under attack or being demonized for doing what is best for ourselves or our children, especially when other people feel like they can make money off of us or turn us into villains so they can get control of our children. Because remember, during the slavery time, we didn't have any control over our children. So they could take our children, use them, take advantage of them, make all the money they could off of them, and then discard them, as many would like to do today. Because what we're seeing now is something not quite new, but it's more out in the open now. And that is black men standing on business where their children are concerned. Now, we saw that with the Jackson family. Joe Jackson brought his children to national prominence by being disciplined, by being hard on them, and by being a father. But once they reached the point where other people saw how they could benefit from them and make money off them, because remember now, people don't ever stop wanting to make money off of us and our culture. Once he got the Jackson Five to the point that they were not only a national phenomenon but an international phenomenon, now it was time for somebody else to step in. But Joe Jackson kept those boys under control for all that time. Now, I'm going to say that Michael Jackson was probably always a little bit on the weird side. That's who was the musical genius, Michael Jackson. And as long as his daddy was running the show, Michael was under control. But then you get to a point where other people decide that as long as your dad is going to be hanging around, we're not going to be able to give you this big money. So then that big money looks good. The only problem with that is you don't ever really get the full benefit of that big money from what we saw. Because apparently Michael Jackson was always borrowing money right up until the time he died. Had that big operation out there in Neverland or wherever it was, something that didn't seem to make any sense to just a regular person. I mean, he had an amusement park in his backyard. But all of that cost money, and they let him have all the money that he wanted because they knew they could cash in on his name and his likeness and his gift. But letting him borrow all of that money gave them control over him. And once they pushed Joe out of the way, they had a free hand with Michael. And he's still making money for them even in death. He's worth more dead than he was alive. But that had to do with them pushing the father out of the way. But my point is that as long as his daddy was running the show, he kept whatever weirdness Michael had under control. It was after Joe Jackson was pushed out of the way that it all fell down for Michael and the other Jacksons too, because the system split them up. Because what they do is they take that one and make them a superstar because they can control that one. But you push the other ones out of the way. So you don't have a support system. So now the system is the support system. And then you end up crashing and burning no matter how talented you are. But now we see the emergence of black men who have made their way in the world by playing by the system. Then their children come along and they're not willing to turn their children over to the system, protecting their children. And that's something in the black community that we don't see enough of. Black men being the protector of their children. When a black man does that, now all of a sudden he's a problem. He needs to let his children go. That's what somebody said on Twitter. It's time to let go of your children. You don't ever let go of your children. So they are let go of their children so the system can have them and ruin them, get all the money they can out of them, and then ruin them, or they end up ruining themselves. So I think that black men acting like men is a real threat to the system because remember, from the slavery days, they weren't calling them men, they were calling them boys. Boy, come here, boy, boy. So there's still this need for black men to act like children. And the system is the real father of black people. And so when the black man bucks back, then they get labeled a problem. Deion Sanders was not a problem for looking out for his son. LeBron James is not a villain for saying, I want my son to play in the NBA. He might not be the top player that his dad is, but he can be a bench warmer like a lot of the white ones on there. Especially if they get a white one on there. If he's not from Europe, you know he's not gonna be able to play basketball worth a flip. But they'll have them sitting on the bench, making it look like they're on the team. And then when the team is up 50 points, they'll get in and come in and foul out. But at least they got in the game. So I'm glad to see black men turning the corner on this, coming into the 21st century and becoming the men that they ought to be for the black American community, for black American people. And I'm going to let them speak for themselves.
I don't know why everybody's blaming me for that shit. I'm allowed to want what's best for my son, just like Archie Manning wanted for his. When his big-headed ass son didn't want to play for the Chargers, no one said shit about it. So why the hell y'all so upset with us? Yeah, we know why, but nonetheless, both of my boys made it to the NFL, and I'm good with that. With that being said, y'all can, because I'm going to keep getting this money, and there ain't shit you can do about that. Ha ha ha.
I'm not sure who he directed his comments at, but message received, I'm sure. He made it very clear what he thought, right? And here's Chad Okosinko speaking on the same thing. He's Shannon Sharp's sidekick, so I'm not sure how credible his statement is, but listen to it anyway.
What we are witnessing once again is the machinery of a system that has never quite known what to do with a free black man, much less than a free black family. The NFL, with all its pageantry and power, finds itself uncomfortable, even threatened, when the likes of the Sanders family walk into a room, not asking for a seat at the table, but daring to bring their own. Deion Shador, this family has refused to shrink to fit the confines laid out for them. And so the machine does what it has always done. It seeks to diminish, to distort, to remind them and us that there is still a place for black folk. It is not at the head of the table. But in tragedy, you see, it's not in their refusals to bow, but is in the nation's fear of black excellence unchained. The fear that has always been the real danger, not the power of our stride, but the shadow we cast when we stand upright, unafraid, and unapologetically.
Well, he did some good talk because, yes, black excellence has always been a problem in America. That's why they keep trotting out these test scores and talking about how poorly we did on a test. Everything is about a test that they made up that doesn't measure anything. But, black excellence is the problem. That is what they don't like to acknowledge. So the system says, no, it's not your excellence, it's the power that we have over your excellence. And that's what we have to continue to deal with. And last but not least, the Miami rapper Luther Campbell comes in from another angle, talking about LeBron James and his son. Well, I'm not totally up to date on this, but what it sounds like he's saying is that Dallas offered Dion a job and he turned it down, and that's why his son got messed over during the draft.
Were mad at LeBron James for protecting his son, who he know can play in the NBA. You was mad when LeBron told y'all that his son is playing in the NBA with the Lakers. Now you see. So Prime should have took a fucking job at Dallas, but he didn't do that.
So Dion has been in the game long enough to read the tea leaves. He has a sweetheart deal up there in Colorado that he seems to like. Then if he gets in the NFL, next thing you know, he's fired, and then they've got him out of the way altogether. So, well, I don't know, but he knows what he's doing, and he knows his business. So again, it's good to see black men acting like me, and you're not gonna jerk me around, and you're really not gonna jerk my kid around. And this is the thing. I'm going to end on this. See, the way Deion Sanders is moving, he's cultivating these younger kids, and that's what they want him out of the way, so he doesn't cultivate these younger black players who will turn down a scholarship at a PWI to go to an HBCU just to play for Deion. So at some point in time, The seed is going to be planted that Dion or somebody like Dion could go out and start a league of his own. I think one of those rappers tried to start a league, and he might have a league, but he doesn't have any credibility. He's not a football person; he's a rapper. But Deion Sanders, and not only Deion Sanders, but some of these other former professional football players who are taking jobs at HBCUs, that could change the whole culture of college football and professional football. So I think something interesting is happening with these black men, and I'm glad to see it because I'm tired of looking at black men who have a lot of money who are working in professional areas acting like children. So I'm glad to see them acting like men. And yes, that's a threat to America. And the thing about it is, we've been here with these white people for over 400 years dealing with them. We've never done anything to hurt them, but they've done things to hurt us, but we're the threat. So all I can say is, if you don't know us by now, you never will. We're just trying to live in America, most of us are, and mind our business and be peaceful with ourselves. And the fact that they won't let us be peaceful with them is really not our fault. Okay, but let me know what you think about this. Black men acting like men is a threat in America, and that really should not be the case. Give me a thumbs up and have a great day.